Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me, bless his holy name.
Thanks for tuning in to Armor of God again, and thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us. So hopefully you'll be learning a lot from this video too. And for this video, I'd like to start this one by sharing this short clip of something stupid and ignorant someone said about the Eucharist.
When they take the Eucharist or when they take this and they truly believe that it is actually his body and his blood, to me that's a big no-no. So they believe that it is actually his body.
I think it's called transubstantiation.
Yes.
Yeah.
To me, it's like, isn't that blasphemy? Isn't that like idolatry at a whole different level when you're worshiping something? We're just taking dirt and worshiping it as if it's our presence of God. And I can't wrap my head around that. I can't wrap my head that like if the piece of bread falls to the ground, legitimately hell breaks loose in that church and they bow and pick it up with their mouth and they treat it like it is actually my God that's in that bread. I can't get behind that. I think little movements like this could set a trajectory to move a man away from God. That's why I fight for it so hard. It's because I truly have brothers and sisters that sat with me in the pew, but they no longer see God as God anymore because they weren't nourished the way they should have been nourished. Mm-hmm. They were taught to fear the wrong things and to practice the wrong things.
And you know what I'm reminded of? After listening to when he said that, I was reminded of something Father Reehil said before, and I still think it's pretty relevant to the clip I've just shared with you. Please listen to this for a moment.
First of all, I just want to, the news coming out in the world is just amazing. So I've been away, so I didn't get to talk about a lot of it. I'm not going to go back too far. First of all, I just want to talk about this governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer. My goodness, what a disgrace this woman is. Mocking the Eucharist by feeding some nitwit on her knees a Dorito. Mocking the Eucharist. These people, they stop at nothing. I don't think she understands the kind of justice that's going to come down on her because of this prank she pulled to mock the greatest thing in the world. How blind she must be. This woman is led by demons. Blind, blind, blind. Oh, stupid Galatians. We could say that about her. Oh, stupid Gretchen Whitmer. Who has bewitched you, woman? We have to pray for her, but she's repulsive. So the prayers will be even more powerful. Somebody that is literally given her soul over to Satan. Everything she does is twisted, depraved, and attacking of all things good. How people like this get elected, I do not know. I guess there's a lot more of these depraved people out there who want what she wants. I don't know. It makes no sense to me, but yet this is happening. It gets me so angry. Priests, we are the defenders. We are the defenders of the Eucharist. When I see somebody walk away holding the host and not consuming it, I run them down and I say, give that back to me. And I've had people say, oh, no, and I will take it right out of their hands. I am the one who determines who will receive the Eucharist. And if I know you're not a Catholic, or if I know you have no idea what you're doing, I will stop you from receiving, because it would be a sin for you to receive it. It will also be a sin for me to minister that communion to you. So someone that would mock that, it's unbelievable.
The next clip that I'd like to share with you will be a little bit on purgatory. And for this one, I'd like to share this one from Father Joseph Iannuzzi, where he talked briefly about the levels in purgatory.
Speaking of purgatory, yeah, it must be a really hot place, because there's a liquid fire. Not sure if you're aware of that. And just try to think of that for a moment. If you have in your veins fire, liquid flowing through your veins, you're going to feel hot. It's the experience of the souls in purgatory. They're being purged from within. Their whole entrails, whatever you want to call them, their spiritual body is being purged. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but there's actually, I think it's in France, an impression of a hand in a door in a convent of a soul from purgatory that appeared. And the person that the soul in purgatory was appearing to, asking for prayers, was asked by the soul, can you leave proof that you're truly from purgatory? And the soul put its hand on a door in the church of the convent, and to this day it's a burn mark. You see the silhouette of the hand. I know there are a lot of Father Grichel, for example, whom I knew personally, he was against this whole idea that we should be afraid of purgatory. And he has a good point because he says it's God's love that's igniting those flames. And I say, yes, Father Benedict, but there's still flames. But there are different levels in purgatory. You know, you have the highest, there are three major categories according to the saints, three major levels in purgatory. And the highest level, close to heaven, there's no physical pain, no physical suffering, no fire. It's just the absence of God, which is in itself a torment for the soul that's being drawn to him but can't see him. But in the lowest level, which is close to hell, according to the writings of these saints, the sufferings are just as intense as those of hell. But with one difference, they say, there's hope, that they're not condemned. There's hope. But the sufferings are almost identical to the sufferings in hell. And in hell, we know that what the sufferings are based on the descriptions of the Council of Trent. There's cold and there's heat. There's both extremes. And then the soul, of course, is purged according to whatever sins it entertained or the faculties used in those sins on earth. So let's say it stole, its hands, right, would be purged. Or if it went to illicit places, its feet would be purged. Or if it harbored evil things in its heart, its bosom will be purged. If it spoke bad of other people, its tongue would be purged. When we die with venial souls on our sins on our soul, we go to purgatory. If we die with an unconfessed grave sin, we go to hell. The Council of Trent teaches one unconfessed, unrepented mortal sin is enough to condemn you to hell. But venial sins do not. They send us to purgatory. So when we go to confession, even after we lived a life of dissolution, like the prodigal son, God can still grant us a plenary indulgence in that one confession, just like the Father did to the Son, right? Forgave all his past. But we have to be willing to ask for that and disposed properly for that. The Church gives the priest the authority to grant a plenary indulgence on the deathbed of any penitent. It's called an apostolic pardon. And this is, most priests, I'm assuming they know this, but the priest can give them this sacrament, this pardon, apostolic pardon, where they can receive a total remission of all sin and punishment, so they go straight to heaven. If a soul is not fully contrite, but partially contrite, they go to purgatory. If they're perfectly contrite, then they can get a plenary indulgence. Yeah.
And I'd like to share another clip of Father Reehil here, where he talked about New Age, witchcraft, about some Catholic who wear those evil eye rings. I feel I need to make more videos that share clips of priests warning people of the dangers associated with these things when you listen to people like this. And there are a lot of them all over social media, unfortunately.
Okay, so baneful witches are mostly witches who follow the left-handed path. If you know anything about witchcraft, right-handed path is more of your love and light, good magic. The left-handed path is more of your hexes, curses, jinxes, those types of things. Now, I'm not going to say that all baneful witches are bad, because they absolutely are not. There is a place in the world for this baneful magic. It can be used for good things. I'm not going to sit here and bash anyone's craft, but this person that I'm talking about, it's all about her intention, and it's pure evil.
Anyway, now let me share you this clip of Father Reehil with you instead on the dangers of these things. Please listen to this.
The most direct and clear way to invite a demon in is to practice the occult and Satanism and witchcraft, all that stuff. New Age practices, it's just pretty little packages for saying, you know, I'm literally dabbling with demons. And some of the people don't know it. They think it's like the energy force of the universe. You know, the New Age people, they're the most difficult, because I don't think they even understand what they're doing. They're thinking this is like some magical force that you put your wish list into the universe, and then it comes back and it will happen. You know, but when you start worshiping these, you know, universe forces, well, they're demons. You know, this is just like Moloch for the Jews 2,000 years ago. They're bringing their babies and burning their babies so that their crops will grow, and they're thinking it's the god, this god, that god. No, they're demons. You know, same with when Our Lady appeared in Mexico. All those Indians were sacrificing their kids, and she said, "Look, I'm here to tell you that my son died, so you don't have to do any of this. You need a relationship with him." So until they understand that, people, we think we're so sophisticated in 2024. You know, I'm so smart and I have my degree and I have a master's in this, but I also do my witchcraft over here because that helps my house be at peace until it's not at peace. And then they wind up calling because they're like, I'm scared to death. There's something in my house I can't get rid of. So the New Agers, it's not as open as witchcraft, because the witchcraft, they're clearly saying this is what witches do. To do this spell, this will help you get this, and to do this curse will block this from happening. But the New Agers, it's all about like love and the universe and the crystals, and they get these crystals and they pray to the crystals to give them energy. It's all masked words. So the crystal has become a cursed object, and the energy they're getting is demonic, but they don't call it that. So for them, it's all nice and pretty. And look at my beautiful crystals, and they help me overcome my fears, and they help me study better. And I'm like, that may be true temporarily because they do have power, the forces you're dealing with, but they're going to turn on you. And then when you do get attacked, you have no protection because you've abandoned God. For this, yeah, Catholics who wear the evil eye rings, the Catholics wear them. I pulled this woman aside. I said, you come to church every week. Why? What is this thing? Oh, that's my protection. Protection from what? From evil. I go, so what you're telling me is that Jesus isn't strong enough to protect you from the evil? You need this weird eye thing? And she goes, well, when you say it like that, it makes me sound bad. I go, because it is bad. You're telling God he's not enough. You need this other thing that's going to protect. By the way, it's not going to protect you. I've never met an exorcist that said yoga is fine. Let's put it that way. Because I go to conferences where there's like 100 of us and we talk about this stuff. That's one of the great deceptions. It's just stretching. Well, not really, because those particular poses, I played football all through high school. I've never seen anybody pose any of those poses before a game. So those are not normal poses. Those are very detailed expressions of certain movements that are signaling the deity that's attached to that movement. It's like putting up the bat signal to get Batman's attention, except it's not Batman, it's a demon. And that's your downward dog, is getting the attention of that demon, whether you want it or not. You don't have to intentionally ask for it. It comes with the movement. When I make the sign of the cross, I'm invoking the Trinity, you know, and the Trinity's aware of that. And even if an atheist were to do that, Jesus would be aware what they're doing. He's like, they're making the sign of the cross. They might not know me, but that's what they're doing. So, and this is the one topic that gets people crazy, and I get the most hate mail about the yoga. Leave my yoga alone. I go, listen, do whatever you want to do. I'm not going to tell you to stop living your life. I'm just giving you truth. You get to digest it or spit it out. Whatever you want to do is your business. But I have an obligation to tell you what's going on here. And that's what's going on. You don't have to believe me, but you know, at some point, if it turns on you, you're going to wind up having to call a priest to help you out.
And remember, I shared this with you a few months ago about toy companies mass producing these spirit boards. And I think it's going to be a little bit more useful to know a little bit of the background of how they came about in the first place. Please listen to this.
How did the Ouija board even begin? Well, it began right after the Civil War. There was a bunch of charlatans running around that said, you know what, we can make a ton of money here. We're going to make these talking boards, those homes of all the deceased soldiers, and we're going to tell them we can contact their husband. They can have one final talk with them. And that's how they started. And then it gained momentum over the decades. Eventually, it was formally created by, I believe, Parker Brothers, who sold it to one of the other companies, maybe Mattel, I don't know. But their home base was Salem, Massachusetts, which is the home of the witches. And they brought in a witch to kind of oversee the mass production of these boards. And that's when it really started gaining mass popularity. And a toy company, where it sold in like toy stores, it outsold Monopoly by 1 million boards. Well, Parker Brothers was the first toy company, and then it got sold, I think, to Mattel. And whoever it was, they were based in Salem. Salem, Massachusetts is the home of the witch trials, if you remember. So there's a lot of, it's a home base for occult people. And that's when they started getting consultants that were in those communities to help work on the final production of these toy boards, which were called Ouija, which they said the board itself gave them the name. And then the first year it was sold, it outsold Monopoly by 1 million boards. This is why it's so effective. Not just that, but even psychics. You know, people tell me all the time, I had a conversation with my mother or my grandmother right before they died, and only the two of us knew about this conversation. And then when I went to the psychic, she spit back to me that exact conversation, and only my mother ever knew that. How can you tell me it's not my mother? Okay, well, you have a guardian angel in the room with you when your mother was there, so was her angel. And by the way, there's probably a whole slew of demons in the room. And they heard what you said, and they can pass it on to other demons. And so the demon shows up impersonating your mother and can spit that right back to you verbatim, and you think it's your mother. Listen, your mother's either in heaven where she has no desire to come back, Purgatory where she needs our prayers and can't communicate with us unless God gives a very rare few the ability to come back and ask for prayers, or if she's in hell, she's never getting out. So like, it's not your mother.
And I'll end this compilation with this last clip, and it's going to be of Father Joseph Iannuzzi again. And I hope you have learned a lot so far.
Father, what about the souls and people who are not Catholic and don't even know about confession or believe in confession?
Right. Yeah, the church has answered that question in Canon 844, on the commentary section, the Code of Canon Law. 844 allows non-Catholics to receive 3 sacraments. The Protestants, the Orthodox Catholics, they can receive sacramental confession, sacramental communion, and sacramental anointing of the sick. Now, they have to be properly disposed, right, to receive these, but Protestants can too. But suppose they're not even baptized, right? Then they can't receive the sacraments. You have to be baptized to receive the sacraments. In this case, the church teaches that God provides in other ways. They can make a personal act of contrition. Because remember, people who are not raised according to the faith, like most of us are not responsible for their faith. They're not. God does not hold them responsible. So God does not expect of them what he expects of us. He expects of them to live a holy life according to their religion, according to the religion of their parents, and they, in their own religion, can confess. We can all have remorse. We can all have this gift of God. He gives it to everyone to turn to him and say, I'm sorry. Some of us can reject it. Some of us can accept it. So salvation is open to all. This is also found in the Second Vatican Council document, Lumen Gentium, chapter 16, where it states that salvation is open to all religions, all races, all people, provided they live according to the dictates of their conscience by doing good and avoiding evil. And if they do evil, they ask forgiveness in their own way.
Well then, that will be all for the video this time. And as always, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us, and hopefully all of you have learned so much from this video. And remember, if ever you have any feedback or suggestion, please let us know in the comments below. Anyway, if you like what we do and you'd like to support us, I left a link to our PayPal donation in the description box below, and from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for your continuous support, contributions, and prayers. And until the next one, thanks again for watching, and may God bless you.